Okay, here we go.
America's #1 network. Home to sports' biggest stars and crown jewel events. Now, a new era begins. A partnership with the world's fastest growing sport. An alliance with a sport that has ignited the passion of millions. A union with the organization that has redefined the sports landscape and created the heroes of a new generation. Two elite organizations come together to create a future that cannot be denied.
Hello and welcome to Studio 2A at the Fox Networks Center. I'm Joe Rogan and I'm very excited that you're able to join us today for this historic moment for Fox Sports and the UFC. In addition to the media and guests here, we have a large contingent of media from all over the country who are joining us on the phone and thousands of UFC fans watching the proceedings via the internet. Once the press conference is over, all the principals will be available for one-on-one interviews, and due to space limitations here, you'll be directed to Studio 2B right next door. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce the distinguished executives who we have available to make today's historic announcement and answer your questions. David Hill, Chairman of Fox Sports. Eric Shanks, Co-President and COO, Fox Sports Media Group. Dana White, President of the UFC. Lorenzo Fertitta, Chairman and CEO of the UFC. John Landgraf, President of FX Networks. Also present, but off camera, are Frank Fertitta, co-owner of the UFC. Randy Freer, co-president and COO, Fox Sports Media Group. George Greenberg, executive vice president and general manager of Fuel TV. Also joining us today from the UFC are former UFC champion Rashad Evans, UFC Hall of Famer Chuck Liddell, UFC lightweight champion Frankie Edgar, and UFC welterweight champion George St-Pierre. Now, to formally make today's announcement, Mr. David Hill.
This is one of those press conferences where you don't want to make anyone angry, right? Welcome to Studio 2A. This is kind of like the heart and soul of Fox Sports, and we've done a lot of great shows, a lot of great programs out of here over the years, and for me, it's got a whole bunch of memories. But memories isn't what television is about. There's no yesterday in TV. Television is all about the next big thing, and that's what we're here for this morning. We first started talking to UFC 10 years ago. First met Lorenzo and Dana. And Lorenzo said something to me then that I didn't believe, but over the last 10 years I have. And he said, what boxing was to your generation, UFC will be and is for the next upcoming generation. And I've watched in amazement that there's one thing about sports and television, that it's the ultimate democratic process. The television can't make a sport. We can enhance it, we can grow it, but we can't make it. It's the people have to speak. And what Dana and Frank and Lorenzo have done, they've taken a little niche sport, MMA, called it UFC. In 10 years, they have taken it to a mainstream sport. And it was then, but the key was recognizing what the people wanted. It's the ultimate democratic thing. And when you think about what they've done in this changing age, and I always believed that boxing lost viewers because of the uptick in gaming. And when it's possible to disembowel and walk in the privacy of your own room, that watching two guys with gloves on was very one-dimensional. And what Dana and Lorenzo and Frankie have created, and the fighters themselves have created something that's the ultimate 3D experience. And I'm so proud, and I can't let this go without Ari Emanuel, who he and I have been sparring, and I use the term literally, for about a decade about this. And the culmination of this deal has got very little to do with me. I just kind of nodded my head. It was really Eric and Randy's belief and passion for the sport. And then the passion, not only from them, but from everyone in our staff, and from everyone in the building, from everyone in the network. And Johnny Landgraf, who runs FX, is one of the smartest dudes I've ever met in terms of television. When John sits down to watch 200 hours of The Ultimate Fighter to work out what works and what doesn't work, you got something. He's still sitting watching episode 1 of The Shield, trying to figure out what went wrong. And so that when he sits down to go through something, it's really amazing. This is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and this is just the beginning. But I can't overemphasize that the way this sport has grown from a niche to mainstream in just 10 years. What was it? 10 years? Lorenzo, you were in 2000, and we did our very first. This isn't our first rodeo at this. We did a live sport with Best Damn Sports Show period. So it's been a while in the gestation. But to explain all the details, the ins and outs, Eric Shanks.
Thanks, Dave.
You're very welcome.
We just couldn't be more tickled than to be able to announce this long-term relationship with the UFC and with Frank and Lorenzo and Dana today, and everybody that is a part of the UFC. And it's a deal that touches literally all aspects of the Fox Sports Media Group. It all starts with 4 massive fights a year on the broadcast network, 32 live fights a year on FX, along with 2 runs of The Ultimate Fighter each year, where we will literally own Friday nights with live UFC fighting. It touches Fuel, and it also touches FOX Deportes, and digital assets across all of those networks. Fuel will have a lot of the pre and post fights, so we'll do pre and post fights for all the fights on the network, and for pay-per-views. And being in business with these guys when I was at DirecTV, that these guys pour their heart and their soul into the business and the product. And you love being in business with somebody that it is their passion and it is their life. And we like to think of ourselves here at Fox Sports as the big event network, doing the biggest events in sports year in and year out. And these guys put on big events, and it fits really well with our brand. And I think people outside of Fox and outside of UFC are kind of nodding their heads and wondering why it took so long. But we're here today, and Dana, we're glad to be in business with you today.
And one thing that he forgot is The Ultimate Fighter will be on FX also live. The Ultimate Fighter will be live on FX, which I'll let John get more into that when he speaks. But obviously, anybody who knows the history of the UFC and how this whole thing came about when my partners, Frank and Lorenzo and I, got into this in 2001, there's been a lot of big milestones that we've had over the last 10 years in building this company and growing the sport. But I have to be totally honest when I say that this is the biggest. This right here is, and I'll speak for myself and let Lorenzo speak for himself, but this was it for me. This is what I always wanted. This is what I always felt was the pinnacle for us here in the United States, was to get a deal with Fox. And, not just to be on the #1 network in the country, but to be on the network with all the other real big sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, etc. This partnership's going to be amazing. It's going to take this sport to the next level, and all those people out there that thought I was a lunatic 10 years ago when I said that this was going to be the biggest sport.
Some still do. Some
Yeah,
still do.
I know. Here we are. This is the first step, and not just for us too. The staff that's been with us for the last 10 years, working hard in Las Vegas. It's a big day for this company, and I couldn't be more proud to be sitting up here and making this announcement right now.
You know, I echo exactly what Dana says. For my brother Frank, myself, Dana, really for all of our team members that are located around the world, from Beijing to London to Toronto, our home base office in Las Vegas. This is a really, really big day. Not only taking UFC to the next level, taking the sport to the next level, and it's just very, very exciting from that standpoint. But as we sat down and talked many times over the last 2 years, when we finally got to the details of doing this deal, it was really an easy decision because the fact is we've been in business with Fox for a long time. And every time we've done things in different countries, whether it's incredible success in Australia, incredible success in Latin America, success in different countries all over Europe, this is really just kind of the icing on the cake and going to the next level. And as David mentioned, I think if it wasn't for Ari Emanuel calling him every week and calling Chase
Second day, every second day.
second day, and continuing to pound his head, what the this was. And Joe Rabbit at the same time helping us out, as well as Lance Klein and that whole team. Really, all this really culminated in a deal that, as Eric talked about, it's not just a simple deal where we're going to put a big fight on TV. This is going to touch every aspect of this company, and to see the excitement that is within the company about us coming over is great. And the fact that we're going to be on, at least my favorite entertainment network on TV, FX, who does, in my opinion, the best, edgy, raw, cool, original shows. The fact we're going to be on that platform, not only with live fights, but with this new concept, the Ultimate Fighter Live. I'm really excited about that. So,
thank you.
We're happy.
It's funny how there's kind of a time parallel between FX and UFC. When David and Lorenzo mentioned meeting in 2001, S.H.I.E.L.D. went on the air in 2002, and both UFC and FX have enjoyed explosive growth in the last 10 years. We're not an emerging network anymore, and they're not an emerging professional sport anymore. On an entertainment programming basis, we can now stand toe-to-toe with anybody in our competitive set, with USA, with TNT, with CBS. Certainly our original programming is the envy of any channel, but our ratings are now up there with all of them on an entertainment basis. What distinguishes them from us is that they have professional sports. And so, now so do we. I think that the UFC on FX can finally put us on a level playing field with all of our competitors. And we're just really thrilled to have the Ultimate Fighter, which is a fantastic, compelling reality competition series. But Dana and Lorenzo have come up with ideas that are going to revolutionize it and absolutely take it to the new level. For the last 7 years and the last 14 cycles, the Ultimate Fighter did a tape over 6 weeks, and they're in the can and edited for 3-4 months, and then they make it their way to air. Now the show's going to be shot over 13 weeks, and each installment will be edited the week of, and then air that week. What happened that week will be airing on FX on Friday nights, followed by a live fight. And so, Danny, you can fill in some details, but I'm just thrilled to have this program.
Yeah, like you said, we're going to change up the Ultimate Fighter. The Ultimate Fighter has been incredible for us. Over the last 14 seasons, it's built superstars, world champions, and it really put the sport of mixed martial arts and the UFC on the map. And the new exciting things that we're able to do over here at Fox and to do on FX, I'm very excited for. So like you said, the Ultimate Fighter will now be live. Where we used to go in and the guys would stay there for 6 weeks, and like you said, we'd be in the can, and then we'd release the show months later. 4 or 5 days of filming, it's what I call Jive Live. The reality will be Jive Live, and every fight will be live. So people will be tuning in and watching the Ultimate Fighter live. And the reality will have happened over the last couple of days. And the 2 coaches that come in to coach will also be there. Their training camp will be there for that 12 weeks. and all these fights going right into the finale and when the coaches fight on pay-per-view will all line right up and it will be live. This is revolutionary television right here.
So that also references what Eric mentioned, which is when you take the 26 weeks of the Ultimate Fighter with a live fight and then culminating in a finale, and then you take 6 fight nights, that's 32 weeks of live fights on that from which is going to revolutionize our network. So let's take a look at a reel that UFC put together that highlights the exciting changes that are going to take the Ultimate Fighter on FX to the next level.
Look, do you want to be a fighter? It's the edge. Do you want to be a fighter? We picked the best guys in this country right now. And you guys are in. So the question is, do you want to be a fighter? That is the question.
The Ultimate Fighter. It's the show that turned mixed martial arts into a worldwide phenomenon.
We like in the UFC, our guys can fight.
Now, after 14 bone-crushing seasons, the Ultimate Fighter will go live.
Come on.
It all begins with a 2-hour live season premiere.
This is it. This is your opportunity. Seize it.
32 fighters face off in all or nothing fights.
When this fight moves into the house, loser goes home. Are you here right now? Winner, Matt Brown. Right. Take Mark Stevens, Michael Johnson.
After the coaches pick their teams from the 16 winners, they will each choose which of their fighters will be eligible for the first bout. And the audience will vote on who they want to see go head-to-head. The results are announced at the beginning of the next episode. For the first time ever, the audience will have a voice in selecting who will fight. Then, each episode will be a countdown of the week leading up to the fight. You'll get to see live the dynamics between the teams, the coaches, and Dana.
Yeah, we'll fight. Okay. All right, thanks for stepping up. Yeah, appreciate it. I throw that jersey on so fast his head was spinning. Bro, you're not even famous yet. What? And you're going to be like, when you start making money, and everybody wants your autograph, and all the girls want to hang out with you, what's going to happen to you?
It all leads up to the main event. 2 warriors squaring off and fighting live in the octagon.
Come on, let's do it!
But it's not over yet. The raw live aftermath of the winners and losers is brought home by Dana and the coaches.
You alright? Just let down, man. Just let down. Why would you let down, dog? You're a one-time son of a bitch, man. That's a good fight. You're one of the top that, man. Every season of the show. So you want to be an ultimate fighter.
Then, a new group of fighters is put up to vote for next week's brawl. And finally, after 12 episodes of live fights, the season culminates in an all-live finale.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Where the next Ultimate Fighter champion is crowned.
Congratulations, you are the Ultimate Fighter. Here is your trophy, and you win a 6-figure contract with the UFC.
The Ultimate Fighter. Real. Raw. Live.
Very exciting stuff. Thank you all. And at this point, we'd like to open up the floor for questions from our audience here in Los Angeles. Please wait for a microphone and give your name and affiliation before asking a question. Any questions?
Thank you. Josh Gross, ESPN.com. Congratulations on the deal, monumental deal. Mr. Hill, you had expressed reservations about mixed martial arts in the past. Any reason for the change of heart and why you decided now that it was the right time for Fox to partner with the UFC?
My reservations were back in 2001 and the initial conversations that I was having with Lorenzo. And then I saw what was happening. And the key thing was the reference between boxing being one-dimensional and this being three-dimensional as part of it. And I changed my mind.
Can you point to anything in particular over the last few years that really...
It's just continued. It was that program. It was watching that show. It was probably more enjoyable on a visceral and cerebral level than any kind of like martial arts sports I've ever seen. I thought it was fantastic. You get to know through the show. You get to know the athletes, and they're a different breed to boxers that I've known over the years. They're intelligent, they're smart, they're committed. It's an entirely different world to what I grew up in doing boxing, like, as I said, when pterodactyls stalked the earth.
Fox has a relationship with NFL, does the Super Bowl, does NASCAR. Will it treat the UFC as it does these other events in terms of production and how it handles the broadcast?
Well, that's a very interesting point. What Dana and Lorenzo and Frankie have done, I think their production is first class. And I doubt that there's anything that we could bring. There will be discussions as the months and years go on about production. I think they're doing a fantastic job as it is.
And if I could ask Dana and Lorenzo a question. You partnered with Fox, the Best Damn Sports Show, UFC 37.5, was a pretty big moment for you guys at the time. Did it feel then that you would do the relationship with Fox? That's where the genesis of wanting to work with Fox came from, that event?
Well, that was the first live fight that we'd ever done on television. And like I said when I opened this thing, this is where I always wanted to be. This is the deal that I wanted. And it took a long time to happen, but we've been talking to these guys over the years, and you never know. It's just like, did we think the UFC was going to be this big? We hoped it would. We keep doing your thing and plugging along, and hopefully you end up doing a deal with Fox. It's where I always wanted to be, and this is the deal I always wanted. So I don't know if I ever thought it would, but it did. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a progression. We started, David gave us the opportunity on the Best Damn Sports Show. It turned out to be a success. That eventually led us to having the opportunity to end up doing a deal with Spike. And as we've evolved, throughout the years, to be able to now be at what I think is the highest level of sports media, it's just that natural evolution, and, we're here and looking forward to some great things in the future.
Next question.
Ariel Hawani for AOL. Question for Dana. It says on the press release here that the first event is Saturday, November 12th.
Right.
Is that true? Is there anything more that you can tell us about that?
What's that?
Is there anything more that you can tell us about that?
No. Yeah. We're working on the fight. So yeah, that's going to be the first fight on Fox, and we're looking to do it down in Anaheim, and we're still working on the fight.
Will that be on the Fox network or FX?
It'll be on Fox.
No main event.
Yeah. No main event. Yeah. Working on it.
Sorry?
Working on it.
Okay. And one other question, also for Dana or anyone else on the panel. It says it's a multi-year deal. Are you able to say how many years the deal is back for?
7 years.
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
Hi, Karen Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm not exactly sure to whom I should direct this, but was there any thought of rebranding Fuel as a UFC network, and how many hours of UFC programming will actually be on Fuel television?
Honestly, early on, there was some discussion, and I think as the deal points kind of became clearer, what we ended up doing was kind of a pure rights deal. And so Fuel will remain Fuel. It's still a discussion. I mean, this is really a partnership. I mean, we're in business together. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. Fuel will have a significant amount of UFC supporting programming and live programming throughout the year. But today I couldn't give you a percentage necessarily.
Well, the deal. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other part of it, if you look at what UFC has done in 10 years and the explosive growth and the mainstream acceptance, what's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think any of us can predict. We've all got these incredible aspirations for where this is going to go, but we can't articulate it at this stage. But we will see it, and there'll be a lot of discussion, and we'll move forward.
And you mentioned that you've already worked together internationally, so will a lot of this original new program then also be carried around the world, and how does this affect the established deals already with ESPN, for example, let's say in England?
Each territory, is different. We've been fortunate to work with Fox in a lot of these different territories, and quite frankly, look forward to hopefully adding territories, as things continue. There's going to be, as contracts come up in different countries, obviously, we're going to want to sit down and talk to the Fox group and see if there's something to be done there. But every time we worked with this group, it's been nothing but a grand slam home run.
And the answer to the fuel question is, you guys know the deal and where we are, FX and Big Fox and everything else. A lot of that other programming, from Unleashed to the prelims and things like that, will go to fuel. There's going to be a lot of great programming on fuel. You guys know how well our prelims live do, when we were on Spike. So we're going to be working to build fuel, much in the way we did Spike.
And while there's been a lot of talk about the network and fuel and FX, I think the guy with the biggest grin here today, I think he's here, is Vincent Cadero, who runs FOX Deportes. And I think that the fit there on Deportes is going to be unbelievable.
Great. And for the record, the Shield never went wrong. I have the box set at home. One of the greatest shows on the planet. So thank you.
She thinks exactly the same way.
Yes, it's brilliant.
All right, we have some questions waiting for us on the phones as well. Let's go to them now.
We have a question from the line of Liddell from CNBC.
Hi guys, congratulations. Dana and Lorenzo know I'm a fan of UFC, but also have to talk about the business side of it. This question's for David or Eric. As you know, there are a bunch of people or companies that have UFC on do not buy lists. Can you talk about what your sense of return on investment is from the advertising side, and how the perhaps changed perception over the last couple of years by advertisers allowed you to do this deal?
We would not have gone into this deal if we hadn't canvassed a large group of advertisers who are 100% behind it. There might be one or two companies that have got a do not buy. There is a hell of a lot more that have a do buy on this sport.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. I think if you look at the success that Spike has had, as long as we've been on the network, and their ability to attract advertisers, our ability to attract major sponsors, of the likes of Dodge, Anheuser-Busch, Edge, Shave Gel, all the way to Harley-Davidson. I think we've kind of broke through those barriers. And, when you look at the numbers and the research, the fact is that UFC programming is absolutely the most efficient way to target young males, if that's who you're looking to advertise.
If you look at the history of the Fox Sports Media Group and what we're into and what we do and our bottom line, we didn't go into this with our fingers crossed. We knew what we were going into.
All right, let's go to the next question, please.
Our next question comes from Richard St-Pierre from the New York Times.
Hello, David. How are you?
Hello, Richard.
This press conference was billed as an announcement of one of the biggest announcements ever in Fox Sports history. That's a pretty high level of praise for the UFC, putting it up with the NFL and NASCAR announcements and baseball announcements. Why is this such a big deal to you?
Well, because like Lou and I were worried that you wouldn't tune in, and we figured we had to do something, so it worked.
Stumped him.
Oh, no, I haven't stumped him. He'll be back. He'll be back. He's thinking.
That's not good enough. Next question.
Our next question comes from Sergio Brown from USA Fame.
Yeah, hi, this is Tim and I'm wondering, what are the issues with UFC in the past, both those ever controlling the broadcast? I'm just in terms of production, there's cameras and all that stuff.
You got to switch cell phone coverage, buddy.
I think it's a question about
production.
Yeah, the production's going to be done the same way it always has been. Me and my crew will run the production, and Fox Sports will come in, and we're going to have a pre-show, post-show, and they'll bring in their guys, the Fox guys, for the pre- and post-show, but the UFC is going to run the production.
And we do it in a collaborative way, just as we've done with versus the spot. Obviously, we're going to sit down with the team at Fox and collaborate.
All right, next question, please.
Comes from the line of Melissa Duffy from the Hollywood Reporter.
Hello, gentlemen. I'm not completely clear on what fights will be on FX. Are they going to just be the fights attached to the Ultimate Fighter?
No. What's going to be on FX will be what we call our fight nights. The fight nights will be on FX, and then we'll do big fights on Big Fox. So there'll be 6 of them on FX a year and 4 on Big Fox.
All right, next question, please.
Thanks very much, and congratulations to you all. This is for David and Eric. Guys, clearly there's been a tremendous groundswell with UFC over the past number of years. What caused you guys to be the ones to take the jump and say, you know what, we're going to make it legitimate on the major network?
Jim, it's rights deals come up. The opportunity came up. I think you've heard that we've wanted to be in business with these guys here at Fox for a number of years. And I think when people ask, is this the point that it becomes legitimate? I mean, for gosh sakes, it's been legitimate for a decade. I don't think you probably couldn't find a male 18 to 35 in this country that doesn't know something about the UFC. And it's one of those things. If you don't know anything about it, it's like that Harley Davidson T-shirt that I have. It says, if I have to explain, you wouldn't understand. So, a lot of people are going to be exposed to it for the first time while it's on Big Fox. But for those of us who know and love the sport, we know exactly why we're doing it.
And the other thing too is, don't forget that Eric and I worked at DirecTV a few years back, where we were doing the pay-per-view fights of UFC, and we saw the popularity and the widespread popularity of the sport then.
This is Lorenzo. Fertitta, I think it's important to point out that it wasn't Fox just out there saying we want to be involved with this. We had basically every major broadcaster vying for these rights. So it wasn't a situation where it was a one-horse race here. Everybody wanted to be involved with UFC. Every major media company, every major broadcaster. It was just that at the end of the day, it was Eric stalking me down on a daily basis. And,
you told us we were the only ones.
Yeah, no, this was the right deal for the company at the right time.
Okay, let's go back to the floor for some more questions, please.
We're here, guys. Eric Fontanez, MMAweekly.com. For Dana. Dana, what spurred the changes to the format of The Ultimate Fighter, with it being live and the fan interaction?
Yeah, we're coming to Fox now. We're changing everything. Everything's going to change, including the pay-per-view. So we're making a fresh start here with Fox. We're going to change The Ultimate Fighter, and like I said before when we were explaining it, this is revolutionary. We've done things that nobody has ever done in the fight business, from fighters having health insurance to paying guys more money than actually what they're contracted to be paid, to groundbreaking television like this thing we're going to do with The Ultimate Fighter. And what we want to do is take this thing, not only will it go to the next level on Fox, but we want to take everything to the next level, from pay-per-view to The Ultimate Fighter to all the programming that we produce.
All right, thank you for that. And Lorenzo, if you just talked about there being a lot of networks that were wanting to get involved with you, but what initially motivated you to get in business with Fox?
Well, it's like what Dana said when we first bought the company. If we sat back in 2001 and say, okay, we could pick whatever network we want to be on, it would have been Fox. I mean, they are dominant in sports. They obviously cater to men, both on the broadcast network, on FX, literally on every platform that they have. And they have such a broad depth of platforms. You know, I'm talking about fuel, when you talk about the RSNs around the country. I mean, this is a major deal. And when you look at, like I said, what media companies are the best fit, and then throw on top of that the strength that the company has in international markets, which is where a lot of our future growth is. And it's pretty simple from our standpoint where the right home for us was.
Next question, please.
Hi, my first question, Loretta on SportsIllustrated.com, and congratulations, and quite an impressive rollout. And I like what you're doing with the Ultimate Fighter changes. Mr. Shanks, you said it would be 32 live fights on FX, did I get that correctly? So that breaks down to the 6 FX fight nights, and then we have that's not including the 4 Fox
and
ones?
There's two finals, there's 2 Ultimate Fighter finals, and then there's 24 live fights in conjunction with 12 episodes of each cycle of the Ultimate Fighter.
Okay, great. And this question is for Lorenzo and Dana. The question fans have been asking since this deal started to leak a couple days ago is what caliber of cards can they expect, especially on the Fox shows? So I think the best question to ask would be, can we expect championship fights on the 4 Fox shows?
You may not have championships on every fight. There may be championships on some of them. But I can tell you that we're going to deliver big fights on the broadcast network, that's for sure. Fights that matter, that mean something, and there's a lot hanging on the line.
Yeah, it's always been that way. I mean, we try to put on the best fights. We want to pull ratings. We want to pull the big numbers. We want to give the fans what we feel they deserve. And there's a lot of times that we'll use the television shows to highlight a new up-and-coming star, or whatever it might be. It's going to depend on the situation.
We told them no fights at Speedo.
Yeah, no Speedo fights.
Thank you very much.
Can I just make one point to that? That one of the reasons for the growth is that between Frank, Lorenzo, and Dana, they are more media savvy than anyone I have ever dealt with in boxing or any form of fighting. They understand the media. They understand the new media. They understand the digital media. They understand the power of the network platform. Don't forget that the key part of the business is always going to be pay-per-view. So the more people they have watching on the network, ergo, the more people are going to buy pay-per-view. So it all flows. And if you look at the way that this is structured, that this is now catapulting UFC in a massive growth. So that the fights on the network, we knew we didn't have to worry. We didn't have to say a thing when Randy and Eric were negotiating this, because it's in Lorenzo and Frank and Dana's best interest to have the best possible fight and free to wear, because that then fuels the market.
Next question, please.
Hi guys, Dustin Delatorre with FightHubTV.com. You guys mentioned FOX Deportes, and there's been talk about UFC going to Mexico. Will this speed up maybe UFC going to Mexico and holding a live event there?
Well, really, what's going to speed up UFC going to Mexico is a deal we just announced a couple weeks ago with Fox Latin America, where we're going to be moving over to their platform, and there's going to be a tremendous amount of programming running through that. So I think that's really what's going to drive that. Obviously, Fox Deportes is going to enhance whatever we do, but really the driving force is our Latin American deal.
Next question, please. Okay, we're going to go to the phones now. Let's take one more question from the phone, please.
The next question comes from Sam Beckman from Wall Street Journal.
Hi guys, thanks for taking my call. So I actually had a couple questions. One of them, our understanding was that among the companies that you were considering before, that there were some deals where you would take control of a cable network, make it an Ultimate Fighting network. What happened to that deal? Why did you opt for a more straight deal? And is that bigger broadcast audience that you get? Was that a key motivating factor? And then I have one follow-up.
Yeah, this is Lorenzo. I mean, yes, we looked at a number of different deals, different structures, different opportunities, one of which was the opportunity to the joint venture launch our own network. And at the end of the day, when we looked at everything that was on the table, it just felt like that this license structure made a lot of sense for Fox. I think that a UFC channel would be very successful, but we sat down and kind of thought about it a little bit and said, you know what we do best? We put on great fights and we promote great fights. We're not in the business of running a network. And as far as the life cycle of the company and where we're at, it just made more sense for us to do this deal with Fox.
I could add one thing to that too. I know that question was for Lorenzo, but when Lorenzo and Dana were over in the FX offices yesterday, and they were showing us some of the history of the UFC and some of the promotion they'd gotten from Spike for the Ultimate Fighter, and I think they'd gotten somewhere between 30 and 50 gross rating points of male demographic promotion for the last couple of seasons of Ultimate Fighter. And you know, with due respect to Spike, Mr. Hill and Mr. Shanks and I have 50 gross rating points of promotion in the cushions of our couches, and I think we can.
We are the only people that understand what GRPs are
about. I think we can bring more eyeballs to bear on this sport than some of what's happened in the past.
Your follow-up question, sir?
Well, I wanted to ask about the value of the deal. There's been some reports that it was, as much as $90 million over the course of the deal in terms of licenses. Is that in the right ballpark?
I wish it was. We never discuss what we pay.
Next question.
David, I'm not quite sure I got a full answer to Richard's question about what makes this significant. Is it just the potential of the deal? Is it the male audience you could therefore bring to other parts of the broadcast day? If you could just sort of summarize what are the major bullet points that make this a good investment for Fox?
David, thank you very much for answering that, because it saved me having to call Mr. Sandomir and eat crow. The reason of the importance of this deal is what it brings in the male demo 18 to 34. If you talk to any commissioner of any sport, the key thing that they're concerned about, and probably with the exception of the National Football League right now, is that looking at that young demo it's always wavering. They're like fish; they're there and then they're gone. And without that 18 to 34 demo, you are really a hostage to fortune for the future of the sport, because it's that demo that grows the sport. They're going to grow with it. They're going to take their kids and teach them what the sport's about. They're going to sit there when they have kids. They're going to sit there on the couch and watch. So when you look at a sport and when you look at the potential growth, that is the key demo, the 18 to 24, 18 to 34 block. And when you look at the figures that UFC is pulling, it's huge. So that's in terms of what this is and what this is going to do and what we're going to do jointly between ourselves and UFC. That's what the exciting future is. And Mr. Sandomir, if you're still listening, I will still call you, but that's essentially what it is. If you look at the demos of the sport, that's the key thing. And I'm probably getting just as nerdy as John, but I'm not going to talk about GRPs.
If I might add, this is Lorenzo Fertitta with the UFC. If you think about, Fox, they do massive, huge events. And if you think about in history in sports, some of the biggest events have been big fights. Not just big here in America, but literally big around the globe. And I think what Fox is getting here is what really is difficult to get in boxing, because it's so fragmented. It's hard to put together. They can't even get the two guys to fight Mayweather and Pacquiao. That would be a big event on that scale. What they get with the UFC is the ability to put UFC on that platform, create massive events, create worldwide events. And I think that what is happening around the world is now going to start to happen in the U.S. I mean, everybody talks about the success and growth that the UFC has here in the United States. We're going to do a fight on August 26th in Brazil, where we're going to have 30 to 40 million people in that country watching the fight live on Ready TV, a national broadcaster. And that's really the power of what the UFC brings. Historically, fights have been great big events in sports, and that's what we're going to get back to the United States. back to the times when we had big fights with Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard's, Marvin Hagler's, Mike Tyson's. We're going to create that era in our sport.
Plus, one of the most powerful things on television right now is live events. And, a live event is destination TV. I have to see it when this thing goes on. At 8 o'clock, I have to see this live event. And we're going to be doing tons of live sporting events on FOX Networks.
Okay, next question on the phones, please.
From Keith Doherty from Avenue Friends Union.
Hi, it's a question for Dana. As you know, obviously, in New York, MMA is still not sanctioned. Do you feel like this deal might push New York in that direction?
Well, if it was MMA, that was the reason why we weren't in New York. But that's not the real reason why we're in New York. And we've made it very public that it's a union issue with the Fertitta brothers and their casino in Las Vegas. So we're going to continue to work on that. I mean, the Fox deal is going to take this thing to a whole new level in every way, shape, and form. The New York deal is a whole different animal.
Next question, please, on the phones.
From Luke Connor from XB Nation.
Thanks for taking my call. Most of the questions have been answered. But I guess November 12th is when Pacquiao is fighting Marquez for the third time. When the November 12th date set to potentially compete, coincidence? Talk to me about that.
That's happened a couple times. I'm actually a Manny Pacquiao fan, so I'm not out there trying to, mess with Manny at all. But we compete, for dates, not only with boxing but with other sporting events. The NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA. There's always something going on, and we have to run our business. So in no way, shape, or form are we trying to go up against the Pacquiao fight.
All right, we're going to go to one more question on the phones, please.
Fertitta from AR Report.
Congratulations on the deals, both sides. Obviously, there's going to become a lot more scrutiny and expectation now with this deal. I'm concerned if we kind of talk about what are the expectations now from a rating standpoint, particularly on the Fox events. We can see the big national audience. What kind of expectations do you have for rating?
I think you got to look at the matchup. Always how what the lead in is going to be. I think that we probably haven't set a true expectation. We haven't gone out selling this yet to a particular rating. So we know it's going to be huge, and we're going to put everything we have at our disposal behind making the rating as big as possible.
Okay, next question in the house, please.
Stephen Lieberman, Observer Newspaper Group of Los Angeles. Questions for Dana and anybody else on the panel. Talk about the changes that we made to the pay-per-view programming and how that will be affected by the Fox deal.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I look at this Fox deal as a fresh start for us. So I want to change everything. I want to change the look of the pay-per-view. Graphics, show open. The show opens in our fight nights. Everything's going to have a different feel to it. And like I said, Lorenzo said earlier, we'll be working with these guys. I love what they do in sports and to enhance the look and feel of a UFC event.
Will there be as much emphasis on income producing from the pay-per-view?
What's that?
Will you be? I know that pay-per-view was an important key variable in the equation of the UFC. Will there be as much reliance on that income from the pay-per-view?
Well, at the end of the day, we're a pay-per-view company. That's what we do. So yes, yeah, I expect that with the exposure from Fox and with what we're doing is as we go into this deal, like I said, with a new start, there's going to be millions and millions of people that see the UFC for the first time, and from what we're doing on Fox to what we're doing on FX, and John came up, he and his team yesterday with a lot of great ideas. And coming from people, me and Lorenzo have lived in this world, our own little world, for the last 10 years. And to reach out and meet people that don't know about UFC and don't understand this and that, they gave us a lot of great ideas to educate new people coming in that are going to watch the UFC for the first time. So there's a lot of things that we're going to add and change, and we're actually really excited. It's going to be fun putting this stuff together over the next couple of years.
What about the Gladiator opening? There you go. Next question on the phone.
For everybody there, can you give me a sense for how many more hours this deal gives you on television, Dana, than you got on fight?
Do you know that? I don't know off the top of my head, but it's multiples of what was on the spike. When you add up the programming, like I said before, on Fox Broadcast, FX, Fuel, and RSN, it's going to be a lot of programming.
And to put this. Next question on the phone, please.
Rashad from the Hollywood Reporter.
Hello again. So, David and Eric, does the UFC deal change your interest or ability to be interested in the Thursday night NFL package, which, as you know, has some astronomical rights fee estimates attached to it?
I don't think so. No. The answer to that is no. We've always been, since we started in '94, been opportunistic, and we've always looked at various properties that come along, and we analyse it and we look at it. And recently, you've noticed that we've been the underbidder on a couple of properties, and we've been trumped by lots of money. And we bid what we think something's worth. And sports rights are the ultimate. If you've done Economics 101. The ultimate supply and demand, that there is one property and there's multiple bidders. And so that we do a fair amount of soul searching and gazing at calculators and spreadsheets before we go in and start discussing. So it's we don't have a number of properties, and we've been very publicly underbid. This is something that we firmly believe in. And Randy and Eric are absolutely passionate about, and we feel exactly the same way about the National Football League and all its shapes and forms. We will look at it, and we will talk to the National Football League, and we will then decide what we're going to do. But it certainly doesn't dampen our art in any way, shape, or form.
All right, we will go to one last phone call.
And our final question from the phone is from Jason Backman from Sports Video Group.
I was hoping you might be able to get into a little more detail about what Fox Sports' role is going to be in the production side of this. Dana made it sound like they will pretty much still have control over the bulk of the production. But what's Fox Sports going to do?
We will probably do what we've done the last 10 years, sit back and applaud.
Well, there you go. Any other questions? Any final questions for Ariel?
I just had one.
Can we get him on the microphone, please? Hold on.
A question for any of you Fox executives. What kind of, obviously you have major sports on your networks and entertainment platforms and shows and whatnot. What kind of integration will we see with UFC, on NFL broadcasts, MLB, American Idol, etc.?
A lot. Chuck and George will fill in if Terry and Howie are sick during the season. No, there's going to be a lot of cross promotion across the media group, and through all of our properties, just like cross promote any of the properties that you have and you want to see succeed. And this is obviously a property that we believe in and that you want to see succeed. I think a lot of the tactical ideas are yet to come. I mean, we've just been having meetings here all day yesterday, and we'll have meetings all afternoon around production and marketing and sales. So, we're digging in, as of today to figure all that out.
Also, there's they took a look at it. There's an 80% overlap between young men who are fans of the UFC and who watch FX. There's already an 80% overlap between the two brands. So, first of all, that's incredible. I think we can drive even farther. And I think, they and a lot of their fighters are already aware of our channel. I mean, I was just talking to Lorenzo. We want to get every episode of all of our shows to every fighter under contract. But we also want to get the actors and the creative people involved in our shows to the fights and involved in what they're doing. I think there's a lot that we can do with FX to bring these two great brands together.
And one of the things that we've noticed since we've been here, these guys are really smart and really good at what they do. All this just doesn't happen. And I sat down with Landgraf and his team yesterday, and David said it best. This guy's a genius. When it comes to television, he knows what he's doing, and we're real excited about what we're going to come up with over the next couple of years on Fox and on FX.
All right, for our final comments, let's go back to Mr. David Hill.
I tell you what I'm getting very worried about. Lorenzo is getting awfully comfortable, and that's Michael Strahan's chair. So I'm going to get Jack Simmons to make sure that Lorenzo actually leaves and doesn't sit there waiting for the football season to start.
Anytime you need.
He's a big fan.
I can't emphasize how thrilled we are to have got this deal done. And the only thing I really want to say is if you look where Frank and Lorenzo and Dana have taken this sport, and literally it's that small a group, and that's the brain trust that have made it work in the last decade. Imagine what's going to happen in the next decade. I really think the growth and the potential of this is explosive. So thanks very much for coming. Any other questions? The guys are around, we can chat, and then we've got to go and do some work. So thanks for coming.